Much for joining us tonight. We have been talking with Beth Brown, the president of the Teachers Education Association, tonight about plans to get kids back in school, which is happening really fast. I live in Wilson County. We're supposed to go back 4 weeks from today, and I know a lot of schools start that very same week. And I know that many parents feel the same way that I do. You're worried, you're panicked sometimes. You just want to know more about the plan to get kids back in school and back on a learning path so they can progress. I have little ones. I have a kindergartner and a second grade one, and different worries come with each level of school. We've had a few technical issues with Beth today. We were having a great conversation, then our audio dipped out a little bit again, and we know it is so important that you can hear the teacher's perspective tonight. We're also taking your phone calls. We had some great questions early on from some of the school workers about what does this mean for them and their families. If you want to go ahead and give us a call, I will jot down those questions and then we'll talk about them when we get back. 615-737-PLUS is the number to call. And there is Beth. Hi, Beth. Thank you for being back with us. Hopefully this is going to work out.
Okay. I hope so.
We're going to give our best try.
Me?
Yes, you sound great. So let's pick up where we left off. We were talking about the TEA calling for a moratorium on the state testing. Makes sense what you were saying. Now let's talk about the teacher evaluations. Why would the TEA like to see those not happen in this next school year?
Okay, so that's a great question there, and a lot of people probably don't realize this, but a significant percentage of the teacher evaluation score comes from a test score. So if we are doing away with the testing, that's going to impact evaluation scores. But the bigger reason is that there's not an evaluation model approved by this state that can take into consideration what remote or hybrid teaching might look like. Our teacher evaluation systems are very, very prescriptive. I know I'm starting my 20th year as an educator, so I've been dealing with this evaluation system for a very long time, and there is no way to fairly or effectively gauge teaching strategies or teaching effectiveness using any of the approved evaluation models in the state of Tennessee.
What kind of reception are you getting from the state school board on these issues?
Well, I will tell you that the State Board of Education has been very welcoming of our input. I've had multiple conversations with Dr. Morrison, who is the executive director of the State Board of Education. And so I really appreciate that. TEA really appreciates being able to provide policy recommendations. We've not seen anything yet from the state board about teacher evaluation next year. We did hear from the commissioner via interviews about testing for next year, and she said that it was too early to think about something that wouldn't happen until the spring. But like I mentioned earlier, for some of our districts and some of our high schools, that has to happen now because testing will begin in just a few months.
You guys also have your eye on class size, duty-free lunch, and then teacher planning mandates. Tell me why those are important.
Absolutely. We know that the smaller teacher-student ratio has a very real impact on student learning and student success. In a lot of our classrooms in the state of Tennessee right now, our classrooms are overcrowded. When we think about needing to put into place social distancing recommendations from the CDC and our own State Department of Health, they recognize that we're going to have to socially distance in school buildings. And if we have larger class sizes, that makes it even more impossible. I know that as a high school English teacher, I average anywhere from 28 to 33 students. Wow. You cannot socially distance with 32 students. And so when we start seeing class sizes increase, not only is it going to be more difficult to provide students with the one-on-one instruction that they need, just in the safety aspect, we're not going to be able to do the social distancing measures that we need to keep both our students and our educators safe. When we think about duty-free lunch, that is something that is currently guaranteed in law. But we know that in March, there was legislation passed that granted the Commissioner of Education and the State Board of Education broad authority to grant waivers to deal with COVID-19 issues. And we appreciate that. They dealt with some really important things in April during an emergency meeting. When we think about, though, duty-free lunch, it's giving teachers a break, at least a 25-minute break during a 7 to 8 hour workday. That's just common sense. It's common courtesy, and for health and safety reasons too. If you don't have a break from your students, let's just be really plain. When are you going to go to the bathroom? Right. So we just think that that's really, really important. And in terms of planning time, we know that we're looking at another year that has never been experienced before, where we may have in-person classes with social distancing measures and things that we've not had to experience before, larger class sizes, unprecedented learning gaps or learning loss. We also recognize that there's a very real possibility that our educators are going to have to teach remotely, or there may be some sort of hybrid. And so as we think about having to meet increased student needs in new and multiple ways, it's going to be more important than ever that educators have adequate time for planning.
There are certainly many, many counties in Tennessee that are coming up with their school plan, many school districts. Does the TEA have a seat at the table in each county to kind of say, this is our perspective, this is the teacher's voice? Or have there been instances where teachers have said, we've been let in on the plan and we have these concerns?
So that's a great question. I appreciate you raising it. And it varies from county to county, district to district. In some counties and in some school districts, and this is something we've been advocating for since April, that, again, I go back to one of those guiding principles, that those of us who work most closely with students have to be involved in the planning and implementation. And so we have been pushing very hard for that. Some districts have been more receptive to allowing educator voice in the planning. Others have maybe listened but not necessarily incorporated any of the educators' concerns or recommendations. And then there are some districts that have at this point chosen not to include educators in the planning. So it very much differs across the state and by district.
Wow. Are you worried about any particular counties in their plan right now?
I have not seen all of the plans. I know that districts are working very quickly to comply with the State Board of Education's rule that they have a continuous learning plan submitted to the state for approval by July 24th. So I know that there are a lot of districts who are working diligently on that. I've heard that a number of districts are in the process of surveying their educators and also their communities and parents, which I think is a good sign. I do know that some districts have started releasing, and you mentioned earlier that Metro Nashville, MNPS, will be releasing their plan on Thursday. So I can't say that I have seen very many of the plans yet, but we'll be watching over the next few weeks, certainly.
All right, we're going to take another commercial break. We're going to be right back with more from the Teachers Education Association as we talk about what this fall will look like in the school building. Stay with us.